So, my first review of the year. I spent the end of last year on vacation with my parents, so I was unable to watch anything too recent, but I got some recent stuff from when I was working on the most anticipated films video. Juror number 2 is still popular on Max, and Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is still popular in theaters. So, as I do most of the time, let's start with the most obscure one that less people probably came for, so they won't click away when I'm done with it. Juror number 2 is the latest film from director Clint Eastwood, written by Jonathan A. Abrams, whose only previous entry on IMDB was as an executive producer for 2013's Escape Plan. Despite the involvement of Eastwood and a talented cast that includes Nicholas Hoult, Toni Collette, J.K. Simmons, and Kiefer Sutherland, Warner Bros. Decided to basically just bury this movie. Instead of an actual theatrical release, they put it in a small handful of theaters for just a few days before dumping it on Max with very little promotion. Which especially sucks because this is actually a really good movie that more people should know about. It follows Holt, who plays the titular juror who is called to serve for the trial of a man accused of killing his girlfriend. And then he starts to realize he was near the scene of the crime, witnessing them arguing at the bar beforehand, and then on the way back he may or may not have run something over. Yeah. So right off the bat there's a great moral dilemma. And it gets all the mileage out of that dilemma, raising questions of what's right and wrong and kind of making even the audience wonder what's the right thing to do. Like when you first hear that, it seems like, yeah, the right thing is to turn himself in, but it also shows his new family and brings up some of the not very good things about the suspect. And it never answers this morality tale. It's all left up to the audience. And that dilemma also serves to create just an instant court drama. I mean, it's not like there are any twists or anything, but it's just enthralling to see where it all goes. And the writing and acting are all great too. Once again, it sucks how this movie is being treated because it also means that they're not putting it up for awards consideration. And I don't know if it would have won anything, but it had a great chance of being nominated for some things. It has all the talent of a mainstream studio Oscar film, except it's actually deeper than the typical Oscar bait. This is a hidden gem. It appears to be doing well on Max, but let's hope word of mouth turns it into something more than just some movie that gets popular off streaming for some time. This might be Eastwood's best movie in years. It's a challenging concept turned into an interesting story with great performances.
Has it got huge new zones?
Check!
Twice as big as Sonic 2?
Check!
The new 3D special stage?
Check!
And the new game save feature?
Check!
Do it!
New Sonic 3 is now available at a store near you.
Sega!
New Sonic 3 game cartridge and Sega Genesis sold separately.
Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey.
Then the unthinkable happened.
Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, directed by Brad Silberling.
Now that we're family, I can be the ultimate dad.
We're very concerned.
Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is from director Jeff Fowler, director of the first two and an episode of Knuckles. The story was written by Pat Casey and Josh Miller, writers of the first two and Violent Night, and they both wrote the screenplay with John Whittington, writer for Sonic 2, the Lego Batman movie, and creator of Knuckles. This time, Sonic's going up against Shadow the Hedgehog, played by Keanu Reeves, and Dr. Eggman's back, and this time he's with his grandfather, played by Jim Carrey in yet another role. And Carrey's double role steals the show. He is the most dedicated actor in this movie, acting the way he acted in the 90s, except half the time he's playing off of himself. The Carrey energy is off the charts here, but the rest of the cast is also good. The animated characters take center stage here, which is great, and they are all still voiced as well as they have always been. And of course there's the new addition, Keanu Reeves. Kind of as a contrast to Carrey, he plays this role dead serious and with a dark energy. Despite all this, for a lot of it, I was thinking that maybe this franchise may have run its course for me. No pun intended. Especially after Knuckles, which I saw just recently and wasn't a fan of. I'm not sure if the beginning was worse than the first two, but I might have just kind of personally gotten over it all. I haven't played a lot of Sonic games, and these just seemed like entertaining kids movies. This wasn't even on the top of my watch list. I kinda just went because there wasn't really anything better playing near me that weekend. And for a lot of it, it was kind of a corny kids movie. although I did definitely respect Carrie's performance. But near the climax, it kind of redeemed itself in my eyes. It gets a little more fun, basically when it just says fuck it and turns into Dragon Ball Z suddenly. And I was more invested in what was going on. It felt more climactic, and even a little unexpectedly emotional at a time when it seems unlikely. Honestly, the last half hour or so is probably the best sequence in the entire franchise, and I think that if I were to watch the whole movie again, I'd probably find some enjoyment in the rest of the movie knowing that it's headed towards bigger and better things. It's cool how the Sonic movies went from the ugly disgrace of an adaptation to a franchise that just crossed $1 billion. And this is a high point. It's a little kiddie, but still definitely has its merits for adults, like all the rest of them. Probably especially if they follow the games. Good animated action and 2 show-stealing performances from Jim Carrey. That's a recipe for button-mashing fun. Also, I finally made a Blue Sky account. People have always been changing what the official Twitter alternative is since Twitter went down the tubes. First it was Mastodon, then Threads, and now Blue Sky. Well, now I have an account on all 3. Links are in the description. Also, like, share, and subscribe. And also in the description is my Patreon that I made a couple years ago and have kind of stopped promoting since that wasn't working. But for this one time I'll say if you want to be my first patron, the link is right there.